Welcome back to the Suits and Laterals program. I'm your host, Mitch Gatsky, joined as always by my trusty co-host, Evan Skilleter. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. Have a glass of Blanton's. My beautiful wife is actually home while I'm recording this, which is something new for me because she often works nights. She's in school, so to provide for the family, she works hard in the evenings, which means a lot to me. And now she's actually home, so she gets to listen to the actual process of recording. So it's pretty cool.
Well, say hi for me.
Hey, Rachel. Mitch says hello. She says hello if you didn't hear that. So, no, it's good to be here. How you doing?
We're coming at everybody a little bit early this week, recording here on Monday evening, because I am actually headed down to Texas tomorrow. I've got an early morning flight, and I will be out of town until Sunday evening late. So we figured with wild card weekend in the books and all that happened there and the divisional round upcoming, we should reach out to the people, give them a little bit, make some picks. And I'm looking to close the gap, Evan, because you started out with a perfect weekend.
I know. I was just gonna say, like, there's not much for me to say because I said it all last week, and everything that I said is it still stands. So 4-0, I was pretty happy with that. Did you just get one wrong, Mitch?
No, I got the two wrong. I went with the Raiders, and I guess if you want to count the Dolphins, I just kind of threw that out there, maybe in
Oh
hopes that
God,
they
yeah.
might sneak one out. But
Sure, yeah.
yeah, I gave them a little bit too much credit because they really didn't even show up to play. None of the losers fared well whatsoever in the not so wild card weekend. All the home teams won. All the divisional winners won over the wild card teams they were facing. Texans 27, Raiders 14, Seahawks 26, Lions 6, Steelers 30, Dolphins 12, and Packers 38, Giants 13. Evan, which
Gosh,
win was the most impressive to you?
I have to go Packers, man. I mean, I obviously expected the Packers to win, but after that Hail Mary, that's what is that? Rodgers' third Hail Mary of his career, completed Hail Mary of his career.
Yeah.
After that, the Packers just absolutely dominated, and that was so impressive. The Giants, not a bad team. We both gave our Defensive Player of the Year to Landon Collins. I gave my Head Coach of the Year to Ben McAdoo. The Giants, I might have said Lions a second ago, but I meant the Giants. The Giants are a good team, and the Packers just absolutely tore them apart on both sides of the ball and were very impressive. So I would definitely pick the Packers there, and I would say out of all the playoff games I've watched in the last couple of years, I might be most excited for this Packers-Cowboys game coming up next week, which we can get into later.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's going to be a classic, but sticking with this most impressive win, got to be the Packers for me as well. They just dismantled the Giants, who were a good team and won a lot of their games by playing sound defense. You didn't see a whole lot of that on Sunday night. Aaron Rodgers came out, and he's out of this world right now, Evan. He's thrown for 4 touchdowns and no interceptions in each of the last 3 weeks. That I don't know how I could look that up, but I'd imagine that not a lot of guys have ever done that. 3 straight weeks, 4 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah, that's
and the Hail Mary thing, it's not a prayer with him anymore. He knows what he's doing. It's not a Hail Mary. It's a plan.
They might want to consider just running that as a normal play every now and then, huh?
I mean, it's uncanny, the accuracy that he can somehow find his one open receiver in just a crowd of guys like that. And really what did it for me, you mentioned that Hail Mary being the decisive play in the game, like, well, the Giants aren't coming back after this. For me, it was the late third quarter answer that really illustrated why this team, the Packers, are the toughest to knock out at this point, I think. They turned it over on downs with a strange play call to go for it on 4th and 1, I believe. They were up 14-6. They were on their own side of the field. Mike McCarthy elects to go for it. They don't get it. The Giants score 2 plays later, make it 14-13. And then Aaron Rodgers answers in 4 plays. They ran up the middle for no gain. Rodgers completes it to Cook for 13 yards, completes it to Adams for 20 yards, and then a 30-yard touchdown strike to Randall Cobb.
My man.
At that point, it seemed, it really seemed like the game was over.
Yeah. No, I'm absolutely with you, Mitch. I mean, there's no question that the best team the last 6 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, has been the Packers. Right. And there's no question that if anyone's going to knock the Cowboys out before the Super Bowl, it's going to be the Packers. So that's a matchup I'm really looking forward to. But I'm curious, in your mind, which team should be most ashamed of their performance this weekend? Last weekend.
Well, what do you think I'm going to say here? What do you think? What do you think my answer is? I think
anyone that's listened to this show for for this year will probably know your answer. But
I mean,
it's probably the boys next door, right?
The Detroit Lions got embarrassed on Saturday night. To come out in a playoff game, I don't care if it's on the road in the toughest place to play in the NFL. I don't care who you're playing. To come out and be held to 2 field goals that were both 50-plus yards away. I mean, the Seahawks had 2 guys rushed for over 100 yards in a game this season, and Thomas Rawls came out and made the Lions look like amateurs.
Yeah.
The defensive front for the Lions just got pushed around like you wouldn't believe, and it was an inexperienced offensive line that was doing it. I mean, this was an absolute joke to me.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt a couple times, but I do want to mention that I'm pretty disappointed in one thing in this game, and that's the fact that the referee was standing right next to that ESPN top 10 catch for a touchdown where there was clearly offensive pass interference. Okay.
Still a hell of a catch, though. I mean, you got to hand it to the guy.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, hell of a catch that shouldn't have happened, and that drastically changed the momentum in the landscape of that game. And it's just very disappointing to me. And I had no stake in the game. Obviously I picked the Seahawks to win, but it's disappointing to me that the referee can be right there and throw his flag and call defensive pass interference on that play. I mean, there's just, from every angle that I've seen, there's no way that you can call defensive pass interference right there. And I understand if there's no call because of his angle, he didn't see, the receiver's hand on the face mat. Was it Slay in the end zone right there?
I'm not sure. I don't believe it was, but it might.
I think you're right.
I don't think it was.
But nonetheless, there's no way he could have seen the hand in the face of the defender.
Right.
So if he wouldn't have made a call there, I would have understood a little bit. But he called defensive pass interference, and I think that's a testament to the whole season and the flux of pass interference calls in the NFL, and how it just seems like it's so ticky-tacky, and the defenders can't even put their hands on a receiver anymore. And that's probably a topic for another time. But I just wanted to mention that was a very frustrating thing for me, because the no call or the missed call definitely changed the momentum, and probably not the outcome. I won't go that far, but I will say that if that call wouldn't have been made or would have been made the other way, we might have seen a different scoreline and maybe a more competitive game.
Well, see, that's my thing. It's like to have that call go against you is one thing. That happens to every team, but it seems like the Lions are the only team that when a call like that goes against them, they absolutely fall apart. It's like, okay, well, game's over. Mail it in. The refs have got it out for us. And it's actually a thing. A lot of people in Detroit seriously do believe that the NFL has it out for the Lions in one way or another, just because there's always been this. The Lions find these wacky rules to to lose games. And it's like, yes, it does suck. But my point is they didn't even score a touchdown. And it's ridiculous, regardless of the competition. You got receivers dropping balls all over the place. You got guys taking dumbass personal fouls that are killing momentums of the few drives that you had. You can't win a game like that, regardless of any call that might have happened. The Lions should be ashamed of themselves. And you know what? For the Lions brass to come out last week before this game was even played and say, oh, yeah, Jim Caldwell's coming back regardless. Well, even if he is, what would you come out and say that for? What benefit does that show him in the team?
Yeah, hey,
that makes him more complacent. And I'm not saying, Caldwell didn't give his all or anything. I wouldn't say that. I'm not accusing him of throwing the game. I'm just saying, like, come on. What is this?
Hey, you know what? That's a really good point and not something that I've really thought about or reflected upon this week. But that's absolutely correct. I mean, if you come out, there's no point, like you just said, and I'm totally agreeing with you. There's no point to come out and say, hey, Jim doesn't have to worry about his spot on this team. You're absolutely correct. It doesn't accomplish anything. If I hear that, I'm a competitor, and I've never played professional sports. I've never even really played collegiate sports outside of a semester of college baseball. But I'm a competitor, and I want to go out there and I want to win all the time. But if someone tells me, hey, even if you lose today, we're still going to pay you. You're still going to come back. You're still going to be our coach. So don't really worry about it. I'm going to lose a little bit of edge. Okay, just a little bit. There's no question about it. And, yeah, that's just a bad move to tell a coach. Just don't say anything. Don't say a thing. And the coach has just a little bit more juice and a little bit more edge about him. And maybe the team does as well, because obviously – I guess I shouldn't say obviously, but it seems to me like a lot of those Lions guys really, really like Jim Caldwell and want him to stick around. So I'm with you. That's a good point.
So staying with this game, my player of the week got to be Thomas Rawls, the running back for Seattle. He carried the ball 27 times for 161 yards and a touchdown. And really, he made it possible for the Seahawks to play the way that they want to play football again. All year, we saw them struggle because Russell Wilson had to do more, and he was a bit injured, and they weren't running the ball. They couldn't find any consistency on the ground. It was putting a lot of pressure on their offense, and a lot of times they weren't scoring points. What we saw this past weekend has got to be scary if you're another team in the NFC, because it was a return to the old Seahawks where you knew they could run the ball. They had Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, and that just made them that much more tougher to stop when you got Doug Baldwin and Jimmy Graham running fly routes. Evan, what do you think about Thomas Rawls' performance, and also who's your player of the week?
Yeah, man, the Seahawks are scary, and I'll just come out and say it. I'm not a big Seahawks fan. I think I'm kind of tired of the Seahawks narrative, and I don't know why, but I think it's just one of those personal preferences that I just can't get past. I think Thomas Rawls has been – he's just not been impressive this year, I guess I would say. And then he was a catalyst this weekend. And I think if he can continue that, the Seahawks are definitely dangerous, much to my own chagrin, I guess I would say. But my player of the week this year, actually, so I was down in Lexington, Kentucky this weekend with Rachel, my wife, and I was, paying attention to football at the same time as I was sitting in Rupp Arena watching Kentucky terrorize Arkansas in basketball. And if you've listened to the show before, you know that I have a heart for any guy that has played at Kentucky before. So clearly I have to give my player of the week to Randall Cobb.
Obviously.
The former Kentucky player, the former Kentucky do-it-all, who, if you talk to anyone in Lexington or inside of Big Blue Nation, will say We absolutely love Randall Cobb. And there's no question that's the case for me. I have a Randall Cobb Packers jersey. I'm not even a Packers fan. And Randall Cobb scored 3 touchdowns this weekend. One was that Hail Mary play, which probably could have been better defended. But if you take that away, he still scored 2 touchdowns in a big playoff win. So I give it to Randall Cobb. But I also, honorable mention, need to give a shout out to Bud Dupree, another Kentucky fella who absolutely laid out Matt Moore this weekend.
Okay, was that a dirty hit?
No, it was not a dirty hit. Do you think it was a dirty hit?
Go
ahead.
I don't know.
Tell me the truth.
I really don't know. I mean, anytime you launch into a quarterback like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm obviously biased in this situation. I'm not a Steelers fan. I am a bit partial to them. I grew up going to the same church as Mr. Roethlisberger. And the hype, the Steelers hype around where I'm from is pretty. I guess you'd say there's a lot of hype, for lack of better terms at the moment. But sorry, like I said, I have a glass of whiskey here, so
I was just gonna say
I'm doing my best to get through this. But no, I like the Steelers a little bit. And so when a Kentucky boy wearing a Steelers jersey makes a huge hit, I obviously don't want there to be any type of problem or any type of fine or penalty toward him. So, I mean, come on. That was a great hit, wasn't it?
I mean,
it was a massive hit.
Was it necessary?
No, probably not.
And that's where, for me, it comes into play. You got to take those situations. Each of those situations is different. Sometimes you really do have to hit a guy as hard as you can. That was not one of those plays, I don't think. So, yeah, I'd have thrown the flag, but
But you're an asshole, so
sure, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
we already knew that. But if you'd like, we can move on to the divisional round and make some picks. And hopefully I can close this gap because you're 2 games up on me, and yeah, I don't want to lose to you in anything ever.
Okay, well, go ahead and make your picks, and we'll see if you can close the gap.
Well, let's do it in order here. We'll start on Saturday afternoon. We've got the Seahawks visiting the Falcons. That's a 4:35 kick. It's on Fox if you'd like to tune in.
In Atlanta.
Yes. And I picked the Falcons last week, but after watching this past game, I'm not so sure anymore. So I think I want you to pick this game first because you originally went with the Seahawks last week, correct?
Correct.
So are you going to stick with that?
I am. Yeah, I am going to stick with it.
Okay.
And I mean, there's nothing else to say that I didn't say last week. I think, Matt Ryan's had an outstanding year. Julio Jones was both of our most outstanding player. And I think the Falcons defense is commendable, but I just think that the Seahawks defense is so good that the Falcons aren't going to be able to hang.
See, yeah, that's the thing. If the Falcons had played last week and I would have gotten to see them in action against another playoff team, even though the Lions weren't much of a playoff team, but the Seahawks came out and they dominated on the ground, and I think they're going to be able to do that against the Falcons as well. And like you said, that defensive secondary, even with Earl Thomas out, it's very hard to piece together drives against the Seahawks. You might catch one down the field, but really to dink and dunk your way down the field, it's very tough. I'm not sure Matt Ryan's going to be able to do it. I'm switching my pick from last week. I'm going with the Seahawks. So we're in agreement there. So I won't be able to pick up that game. And I'm hoping as we transition to the AFC, I'm hoping you're going to go with the Texans at the Patriots because I think this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, let me switch my pick real quick. I'll take the Texans in that one. No, I'm not actually switching my pick. I think the Patriots win this one 65-0.
Yeah, I give the Texans about a 0.8% chance to win, only because I don't believe in absolutes. But look, the Raiders were awful last week, and the Texans could not put them away. And the Pats have that killer instinct and that won't allow the Texans to hang around and possibly sneak one out. Got to go Patriots here big, probably 2-3 scores.
Yep.
Which is a huge margin in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. That game's Saturday night at 8:15 on CBS.
It's got to be the worst team to ever play in the divisional round. That's probably not true either. That's an extreme, but
we could have somebody look that up.
We'd have to.
We'll get the research department on it. Steelers at Chiefs,
right.
Sunday 1:05 on NBC. I think I know how you're leaning.
Well, I'm going to stick with the Steelers.
Okay.
I think that the Chiefs have been shaky in the playoffs, and I think the Steelers are firing on all cylinders at the moment. So I have to go Steelers here.
Well, this is pretty nerve-wracking, but I'm going to put all my chips in the middle of the table and stand next to Alex Smith and Andy Reid and see if the Chiefs can.
And Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, my guy, the little guy of the year for me.
That's right.
Like I said, I gave the Dolphins far too much credit by assuming they'd actually show up to play last weekend. I don't think the Chiefs will have that issue. That defense always comes to play, and I can't wait to see this matchup, Evan. I think, besides the Packers and the Cowboys, obviously being the heavyweight matchup of the weekend, I think I'm most excited about Steelers at Chiefs.
Yeah, I can't blame you, man. That's going to be a great game. And it really is kind of a toss-up at this point. The Steelers, if they play offense the way they've been playing offense, then I don't think the Chiefs stand a chance. But I think the Chiefs have a good enough defense to stay in this one, and it'll come down to coaching and experience, and that's why I picked the Steelers.
Well, Mr. Roethlisberger, as you referred to him earlier, was seen in a walking boot in the post-game interview. Are you worried at all?
Are you? I mean, come on. This guy's been in walking boots. He's broken thumbs. He's probably broken his back a few times, and he's still won games. It doesn't make me nervous one bit.
I'd like to see him play in a walking boot. What do you think?
That'd be something. Put some spikes on the bottom of those.
It probably wouldn't affect his mobility at all. He kind of just bumbles around the field anyway.
Yeah, but he bumbles around like a figure skater, man. He's smooth.
Okay, like the sumo wrestler figure skater, like that Geico commercial.
That's about right, I would say.
Packers at Cowboys Sunday at 4:40 on Fox. This is going to be your Joe Buck and Troy Aikman game, I'm sure. First of all, do you think it's a little weird that Aikman calls a ton of Cowboys games, and do you think it's hard for him to remain unbiased?
Yes and yes, but I don't think it really hurts the production value of
I don't think it does
game
either.
And the broadcast. I really like Troy Aikman. I think he does a great job. And I don't mind him calling Cowboys games at all.
And as much as people like to talk smack about Joe Buck, I think he's very good at his job as well.
Sorry, my mouth is full of food.
What do you got there, Ev?
Sorry. You threw that one to me too quickly.
I hope it's delicious.
Yeah. What was the question?
I don't think there was a question, but here's one. How crippling is the injury to Jordy Nelson?
It's a fair question, but I really feel like Rodgers is playing so well right now that it's not going to hamper the Packers too much. Obviously Cobb had 3 touchdown catches on Sunday. So I think he can pick up some slack. I think Ty Montgomery's doing a nice job both running the ball and catching it out of the backfield. And, they have some other weapons, so I think they'll be okay without him. I already took the Cowboys, and I'm sticking with the Cowboys. But I really think it'll be a good game, and I think the Packers will be able to put up points despite the injury.
Yeah, man, this is killing me. So, last week we came out and we gave our picks all the way through the playoffs, and I had that Cowboys-Patriots Super Bowl, but, man, the Packers, Aaron Rodgers is so damn good right now. I'm finding it very hard to go against him. I'm torn. I'm going to stick with the Cowboys because they're at home, and that's the pick that I made last week.
You need to gain some ground here. I mean,
see, that's what I'm saying. I'm very tempted to switch to Packers just to pick up that extra game on you.
Make a decision.
No, I'm gonna stick with the Cowboys because you know what? If the Patriots and the Steelers meet up, as long as the Patriots win, I'm golden. You see what I'm saying?
That is true. Yeah, that's a big one for us.
So yeah, I'm gonna play it safe this week. Try to pick up one game. I'm gonna hope that the Chiefs beat the Steelers and kind of cripple your AFC there. I'm sticking with the Cowboys, but just barely, man. I mean, this is gonna be a one possession game, and I'd be shocked if I think the last team with the ball is gonna end up winning. Honestly.
Yeah, you're probably right. I really am looking forward to those two matchups, the Cowboys and Packers and Steelers and Chiefs. NFL playoffs are funny because you can get to even the division championships and the conference championships and have matchups that aren't really that intriguing sometimes. And I think we have two matchups that we can really look forward to. And I guess the Seahawks and Falcons is pretty intriguing as well.
I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. But then you have the Patriots and Texans, which is like Ohio State playing Bowling Green or Alabama playing whatever Week 9 game that they have or Week 10 game that they have. So
I'm interested in the clash of styles. That's what does it for me with Seahawks and Falcons. But yeah, I think overall a good slate of games this weekend. Hopefully better than last weekend. I mean, that really was a disappointment for all the games to be pretty much over by the time the fourth quarter rolled around.
Yep. Well, I don't have much more. And
I was going to say that we should probably get out of here so you can get to eating.
Yeah, I apologize for having food in my mouth during that. It's it's been a busy day for me. I have school starting up. I'm doing some master's classes through Syracuse, so I have a lot of stuff going on through that. I have some commitments tonight as well, so I'm trying to squeeze everything in on a Monday night. And you just caught me. You caught me with some food in my mouth, deliciously made by my beautiful wife Rachel, who just got her third shout out of the night. So
yeah, it's a big night for Rach.
It's 3 more shout outs than she's gotten this year, I think. So
Evan, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Evan Skilliter, EvanSkilliter. You can find me on Campus Press Box, kinda.
I'm behind the scenes.
Doing some behind the scenes work lately. Mitch, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Great Gatsky, Gatzke. You can visit my new website. I've finally made the transition to greatgatsky.com. Check that out. Really for everything that you could ever want to read about me, my life, sports, music, food, everything.
Hey, I have to ask a quick question.
Yeah.
Now, I know that I started to call you Great Gatsky without any prompting. Now, am I the one that started that nickname, or had you heard that before and latched onto it before that?
No, I'm sorry to break your heart, but I had heard it before. It's something that I kind of, a few people mentioned it in high school because we actually read the book for one of our classes. But
yeah, it doesn't break my heart.
I was
You know
kind of
what?
reluctant to use it as a nickname just because it seems kind of arrogant, but then so many people started using it. I figured, well, if others are going to do it, I might as well just give in.
And I refused to when we were in college. I refused to call you by anything else. So
A
I'll
lot of
take a
people did,
I'll take a little bit of
did.
credit for it, but I understand if I'm not the first, and that's okay.
But anyway, before we get out of here, what are the three things I say of support your
You
local
say
businesses?
support your local businesses, tip handsomely,
Yes. Say your please and thank yous.
say your please and thank yous.
And you're welcome. That's slept on. A lot of people don't say you're welcome, but that's important too.
That's right. And I always say, stay right and stay real. And tonight I'm going to throw in a throwback, and I'm going to tell you, God bless you and have a good night. Until next time, this is Suits and Laterals. Talk to you soon.